Hello everyone, and welcome back to Scribe Plays Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. Last time, our patron Sophie took us out hunting, which was about the equivalent of going to a trout farm and fishing, by leading us to a completely willing blood doll who gave no resistance whatsoever, and we fed from her, and everything was great. I'm assuming that we will next be encountering something more challenging insofar as blood acquisition, but let's find out as we proceed on to the rest of the night. Time for the next stop. Training wheels off this time. Gregory, Flushing Meadows, please. The driver takes the car over the Williamsburg Bridge. You settle your thoughts. Let's see. What did you do to the people back there? Yeah, let's inquire about vampiric disciplines, because I'd like to know more about powers. Those people back at the hall, they were all entranced. Even I was under your spell. What was that? She smiles with satisfaction. That old trick? Just the blood doing my bidding. We all have our talents. Some of them come from the legacy we inherit from our sire. Others can be learned with experience. Learned with experience. Points. I can sway people or make them fear me. I see more of the world and in greater detail than some kindred. I can will my body to move with unparalleled precision and grace, and more. Yeah, you're a Toreador. All Toreador can do that, or have the potential to be able to do that naturally. You're not that special, Sophie. Sorry. All of these skills make me who I am. They also help me hunt. Yes. How do I use my powers? How exactly do I use these talents? You will the blood to do your bidding. Many times you'll find you do these things intuitively, almost passively. But making an entire room focus their attention on you, that is tempting the beast. Is it? Okay. Always keep the masquerade in mind, however. It is all fine if you can disappear in plain sight or command animals with your mind. Excuse me. But save those overt talents for the right place and time. Apparently I need to drink some more water in my life. It only takes you half an hour to reach the park at this time of night. Both you and Sophie leave the car, with Gregory left behind again to find a parking spot and keep an eye on the car. Sophie seems deep in thought. She takes in the surroundings with a dreamy gaze. The sky is surprisingly clear tonight, the stars just barely visible in the light-polluted aura of the city. I feel like having a snack myself. I'll be by the fountain. Go, look for somebody to your liking. See what effects you can achieve with your blood. But only pick one victim, just one, then come back. Seeing how she seems not altogether here right now, you decide to leave Sophie to her own devices and seek out your prey. From here, it looks like you have a few choices. Just taking a stroll around the park and finding an isolated jogger or someone like them could work, but focusing on one area might work better. The New York State Pavilion might work as a secluded spot. There's a skate park nearby, and worst case scenario, there's bound to be some unfortunate wino around. Or maybe the tennis courts nearby? There's light coming from there, so somebody might still be playing a late night match. They won't be alone, but they might be tired and let their guard down. As these scenarios play out in your mind, you realize you're planning how to assault a stranger in the middle of the night. It's a weird way to be, but the now familiar hunger prompts you to act. Okay, search for a victim around the park, hunt near the decrepit pavilion, look for prey at the tennis courts, take a walk but don't feed. Alright, well the tennis courts, too much light, too much possibility of being witnessed, I'm not going to go there. I have to feed, so I'll be feeding. Search for a victim around the park, hunt near the decrepit pavilion. I'm going to go for decrepit pavilion. You make your way to one of the park's most well-known landmarks, the round skeleton of the New York State Pavilion, with its two vaguely futuristic-looking lovers. You don't get lucky with the skate park. It's not deserted. Instead, a group of skaters is gathered there, loudly talking and listening to music playing out of crackling smartphone speakers. Deciding to have a quick look around, you identify a potential victim. A sleeping bag lady, leaned back on a bench, a shopping cart full of what looks like trash nearby. Even thinking of that second option makes you feel sick. You decide to take your chances with the skaters, not even getting close to the homeless woman. Why not? I'd totally go for the homeless woman. She's easy. Really? I can't even decide? Okay. You think back to what Sophie did in the hall, how she managed to focus the attention of the entire gathering on her. That might be a tall order for you, but a single person could be doable. Well, except that in the progression of presence powers, awe, the first level of that discipline, affects, well, just about anybody within your vicinity because it's very light and unfocused. You don't get to focus someone being, interested in you as a specific target until you get to level 3, and that's called entrancement. Level 2 is the last thing you want to do here. That's called dread gaze, and that's where you, turn into a vampire with your fangs and everything and try to scare the hell out of them. So, I don't know. I suppose we'll see if you can use awe. You single out a guy who's talking on his phone away from the gathering. He's having a heated discussion with somebody. A relative, a partner. It's not going well. This talk's over! I said shut the fuck up! Hey, you hearing me? Shut up! Call me when you get some fucking sense into your stupid brain, K? He ends the call abruptly and almost throws the phone to the ground in frustration. Let's see. Rough night. Hey, sorry to interrupt. Hey, man, I need some help. Well, if I'm going for the serial killer thing... stranger coming up. Yeah, no, I'm going to go for I need some help. I'm going to go for, Ted Bundy kind of deal. Hey, man, I need some help. He's got an angry expression on his face, and tears welling in his eyes, but he gives you a curious look and even a bit of a shy smile. Sorry about that, took me a second. Sure, what can I do for you? Really? After yelling and cursing on the phone? Alright. Let's see. I got just the cure for that downer. I want to show you something. Come closer, let's talk. Well, I'm trying to use my powers, so... yeah? Come closer, let's talk. I think you need somebody to talk to right now, yeah? He takes a few steps forward, away from his buddies, who remain totally oblivious to what's happening. But you see your influence fading. You take your chance, and lunge. Oh no. Your fangs sink into his exposed shoulder. He shivers and lets out a moan. His phone hits the pavement, and you hear the casing crack. Oh no. His blood tastes like a clash of hot emotion and melancholy, laced with some artificial stimulant you can't quite place. An energy drink? A recreational drug? It's a strange mix. You hardly have the chance to savor it, as the proximity of the skater's friends makes you feel vulnerable. You hastily finish drinking and drag the guy over to the pavilion. When you turn around, you realize you're not alone. Uh-huh. A hooded man is looking menacingly at you. What do you think you're doing barging in on my turf like this, Lick? Oh, Lick. Oh, it's another vampire. I love beer. Oh boy, so I walked into somebody else's domain. Uh-oh. Didn't mean to trespass. I'm gone. Yeah. I didn't mean to trespass. Sorry, I'm going. Too late for that, friendo. You want to leave here in one piece? You talk. Candidly. I know what you are, so you can shove that masquerade misdirection up your ass. Ooh, is he an anarch, or just a really angry brouhaha? Now, better tell me who you're with before my posse shows up and we beat it out of you. Yeah, I'll drop the name of my sire, since, she's got accounting of me. I came here with Sophie Langley. She's my patron. Doesn't ring a bell. Sounds fancy, though. He licks his lips, exposing his fangs and looking at you voraciously. A nervous tick? Or an attempt at intimidation? I'm guessing the latter. I wonder, what would Callahan... Oh, I was about to say Camarilla. I wonder, what would Callahan do to you if I brought you in, huh? Break your shins? Leave you out to be kissed by the sun? Ooh, concrete shoes, maybe. He's old school like that. Attack him, call for help, celerity, run back to Sophie fast. Okay, well, there are skaters nearby, and I'm not going to use celerity and break the Masquerade. Calling for help? Yeah. I mean, if I attack him, yeah, I bring down a whole bunch of other problems on me. If I'm calling for help, I'm in public, there are people nearby, I could get out that way. Help! Anyone! The guy reacts immediately, charging you and pushing you to the ground. He goes for a bite, but you don't let him reach you. He's fast, but pretty weak. The brawl takes a bit out of both of you. Really? Okay. Suddenly, you hear heavy footsteps closing in, and the thug is snatched from over you. He hits a tree hard, and before he can recover, a sharp piece of wood pierces his chest. Oh my gosh. It's Gregory, Sophie's driver, who deals the blow. Gregory must be some dang ghoul to do that. The hoodlum is rendered inert. His eyes remain open, but he does not move and does not protest when Gregory puts him over his shoulder. Well, he's paralyzed. Miss Langley is waiting for us. Come before your snack wakes up. Oh, Gregory. He points to your victim, who is just coming to and gives you a somewhat snarky smile, then breaks into a swift walk towards the Unisphere. I'll thank him for the help. I'm assuming that Sophie sent Gregory to keep an eye on me, so... Hey, thanks for the help. Miss Langley asked me to look out for you. She suspected you'd get into trouble. Uh-huh. He seems to realize he might have said too much and just keeps walking, somewhat embarrassed. You reach the Unisphere together, with the hoodlum in tow. Two figures are visible near the sculpture, a man and a woman tangled in a passionate embrace. No, not exactly. It's Sophie, feeding. But this whole scene is set up so it looks like a pair getting intimate in public. She pulls it off like she's done it 100 times before. It occurs to you that she probably has. The man is unsure on his feet as she lets go of him and leads him towards a nearby bench. Noticing you, she whispers something into his ear and leaves him. She nods to Gregory as you approach. And what do we have here? Did this kindred give you trouble, Scribe? Yeah? Yeah, but Gregory helped. Why did you send Gregory to babysit me? I'll be a good little informant. He mentioned a Callahan. He said something about presenting me to somebody named Callahan. Ever heard of him? She looks shocked for a split second, then recovers her regular countenance. Yes, I have. This hoodlum is Anarch, then? Curious. Corona Park has not been claimed by any kindred, last I checked. Ooh, an Anarch claiming domain. Interesting. An Anarch, for those of you that don't know. So you have, it is another sect of vampires. They still believe in the Masquerade, but they are not big on the other rules and holier-than-thou attitude of the Camarilla, and seek freedom. They're very libertarian that way. Let's go to the car. We'll put him in the trunk and present him to Kadir tomorrow night. I'm sure he'll be delighted to make this Unbound's acquaintance. Unbound? Okay, well, I guess that is another slang word for anarchs. Gregory carries the staked vampire and dumps him in the car's trunk like a mannequin. It's a strange sight, and you're quite happy you're not that poor fucker, not in that poor fucker's shoes right now. I guess so. It's almost surprising that you can get away with just casually throwing a stiff into your car and driving away, but then you remember that Sophie has been doing this far longer than you have. Still, the nagging thought that anything you did tonight could have been recorded on a CCTV camera or picked up by a rando with a half-decent smartphone and streamed online fills you with dread. Hunting and using your abilities is a dangerous business. It's clear that this whole being a vampire thing has about as many caveats as it has perks. Well, I haven't actually used any abilities yet, so... But anyway. You're taken out of your headspace by Sophie's voice. I will pick you up tomorrow night, same as tonight. I have some business to attend to at Elysium, and I expect you to accompany me. Plus, our friend in the back needs to be properly introduced to Kadir and the prince. I'm sure he'll have some interesting things to say to the court. So he's an unannounced anarch in the city. Okay. Her voice is cold, cruel, and nothing like the enchanting personality she showed at the gallery earlier tonight. Sophie is clearly a woman of many faces. Yeah, the anarchs and the Camarilla have an uneasy sort of understanding. Usually, if they... well, they don't usually fight each other unless it's really necessary. Sometimes they make a sort of uneasy equilibrium in a city. But I don't know what the scenario is here. Let's see what's going to happen to him. Good riddance, the guy's an asshole. I'd do the same thing in his place. Yeah, I'll ask what's going to happen. What's going to happen to him? The usual, I imagine. Interrogation by Kadir, probably in the basement of the gallery. A quick trial with the prince in attendance if she's there tomorrow night. A swift execution as the verdict. This all sounds eerily familiar to you, and you can't help but feel a pang of guilt when you think about what awaits this guy tomorrow night. You haven't told me how your hunting went. Getting the hang of it, I would hope. It'll take some getting used to. I'll need some time to get used to this. It doesn't come naturally. It will, with time. You need to think about it less. Hunting is the one scenario in which you'll do well to trust your instincts. In moderation, of course. She seems distracted, not all there. Her thoughts drift and the car remains silent until you reach your apartment. We will pick you up tomorrow evening. Good night. Just like that, without any further courtesy, Sophie leaves, driven to her apartment by Gregory with a body in the trunk, right in the middle of Manhattan. Did you cross paths with situations like these in the past, unknowingly? What other secrets did you pass on the streets without knowing their true nature? Your haven is just as you left it hours ago. Although the sun won't come up for some time, you feel tired. You learned something about yourself today, and it'll take time to process. I mean, I guess that's how a regular person would be taking all this in, but still seems awfully, I don't know. Speaking of training wheels. You're not in the mood for television, and the few books on the shelves in the apartment are either in languages you don't speak or sound like a boring read. Nothing left to do but rest. You settle in the back room, lock the door. A moment of hesitation, but then a decision. This time, you turn the light off. Oh, wow. Wowie. Why hasn't he, tried to settle himself by doing some art or something? I mean, he is a Toreador and he was an artist before all this started, so are we going to get to that? Or are we just in the phase of the game where everything is very one-pathed, regardless of what clan or personality you took? You think back to Julie. How many people in this city know about this vampiric society? How many are willing accomplices in sustaining it? And the thug you met in the park. If he's not Camarilla, then what is he? Are there independent vampires? How does that work? More questions. You begin wondering if there's ever going to be a night when you can start crossing them off the list instead of adding to it. Oh, trust me, buddy, it never stops. You close your eyes. You sink into the now familiar void of nothingness. It greets you with open arms like an old friend. Okay, back to the map, and I'm going to rest. You open your eyes. It's pitch dark here, the blackness of a coffin drifting in the abyss. Oh, right, the light. You grasp for the switch, flip it. The familiar cramped room with a steel door and no windows comes into view. You emerge from the bedroom fully awake, just like yesterday. This time, however, Sophie is waiting for you, comfortably seated on the sofa in your living room space, a book in her hand. The Melancholy of Resistance. The title's sure on brand. Wait, she's awake before you are? Okay, in the rules of the tabletop game, when you awaken from slumber or torpor, depending on how you look at it, depends on how human you are. And your humanness is tracked by a rating called humanity. The higher your humanity rating, the earlier you wake up because your body and your spirit or whatever else is more in tune to how you adapted and acted while you were alive. Usually, the older you get as a vampire, you're inevitably going to lose your sense of humanity just based on what you do and the actions you take. Maintaining one's humanity is something that you want to do to keep as a healthy vampire, so to speak, and it's also something that the Camarilla, well, it advocates for. But in this instance, if Sophie is some kind of experienced vampire, I can't believe for a second that her humanity is higher than or equal to our main character, who only just became a vampire and still has all his memories and sensations of being a human intact. So how she's there earlier than he is? Maybe she has the merit early riser or something? Or light sleeper might be the other one? I don't know. Good evening, Scribe. How did you get inside? It's her apartment. Sorry to have kept you waiting. Yeah, maybe she'll give away something about how she's there earlier. Sorry to have kept you waiting. To be fair, I haven't been here long. I was enjoying reminiscing about the time when I called this my haven. The decor was much different, of course. Come, we have an appointment. I received word Elysium would be called again tonight on account of your unruly friend from Corona Park. This should be a great opportunity for you to mingle. She keeps talking as you walk downstairs and get into the car. Gregory gives you a slight nod and a small smile while opening the door for Sophie. He starts the car when you take your seat in the back. Most of the Primogen Council is bound to be there, at least those who usually attend. Probably some other important personalities you do well to at least learn about. Okay, so taking a guess here, they're not aware of the Anarch presence in the city, or whoever this Callahan is. Let's see, who should I talk to? How should I carry myself? More politics, great. No, I'm an art industry person. I know I need to mingle, so I need advice on who I should talk to. Anyone I should talk to when we arrive? Not especially. My advice would be to try to talk to the prince and perhaps reassure her of your gratefulness for being spared. Maybe speak to Kadir on the same topic if you get a hold of him. The Primogen I would advise against. They are rather stuck up, all told, and even if they will talk to you, they might try to secure you for some nefarious purpose. I wouldn't appreciate that. Okay, so Sophie's not a Primogen. She must be somebody relatively well respected to be able to ask for the right of destruction, so don't know yet. Of course, be respectful to anybody if anybody approaches you and strikes up a conversation. You will no doubt be gossiped about, as will I. Keep a cool head. Some enjoy provoking fledglings into stupid acts. At any rate, you should behave yourself tonight. Remember what I told you about reflecting on me as your patron. I have a reputation to uphold in the court. Do not tarnish it. There it is. She might have saved you. She might be protecting and teaching you, but it's clear what she's really concerned about. Her own interests. Well, duh. You step into the art hole with something of a bad memory. The last time you were here, your entire world had been turned upside down and your existence nearly ended. But tonight there is very little outward hostility. Yes, Kadir gives you a look that's definitely intended to remind you of your place, but the prince, also in attendance, seems pleased to see you. Welcome, Sophie, Scribe. Did I get that right? Good evening to both of you. I understand there is somebody else you wish to present to the court tonight. Yes, Prince. They'll be joining us shortly. My assistant is retrieving them presently. This better be worth the prince's time, Langley. The prince gives Kadir a cold glance. Forgive the sheriff's harshness. He's in a particularly foul mood tonight. Something to do with Scribe's begetter eluding his grasp, I believe. Ouch. That must have hurt his ego, even if his only reply is a crooked smile. The mention of your sire makes you feel a pang of emotion again. Whoever he was, he left a lasting impression. One reinforced with your visit to show space last night. Wait. One reinforced with your visit to the show space last night. That's the past. Interesting structure. Right now, though, you're back in the gallery and are reminded of your sister instead. Emma frequents this place. Is she aware of these clandestine meetings after dark? Yeah, what about your sister? What about letting her know what happened to you? What happened with all that? The flaring up of whispers in the gallery hall breaks you out of your thoughts. Gregory enters the room, the jumpsuit-clad, inert vampire still staked over his shoulder. The show's about to start. Sophie's driver places his charge in the middle of the room and nods respectfully to Kadir. The sheriff approaches the vampire and removes the stake from his chest. The captive's eyes flicker to life, and he starts looking around in disbelief. Like a cornered animal, he backs out on all fours, keeps going in circles, until he realizes he's trapped. Kadir steps on the man's chest and pins him to the floor. Why, who do we have here? Oh, fuck. Oh, shit, no. Come on, don't. Silence. The sheriff takes on an aura of utter dread. He appears as if he's a primal force of nature that's out to get you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do but shrivel in terror. The beast inside you shrieks, and you could swear it happens in unison with the instincts of some of the other guests here tonight. It's unlike anything you've experienced in his company during your turbulent first night as a vampire. He really did go easy on you, all things considered. He might have just made an intimidation roll, or maybe using low-level presence, but also intimidation. I don't know. It seems like it takes all of the hoodlum's willpower to not crawl into a fetal position and start crying. No, please, don't hurt me, man. Don't. You and me are going to have a little talk downstairs, at the prince's discretion. Please, go ahead, my sheriff. You heard the prince. Get up. Let's go. He doesn't wait for a confirmation, and he just grabs the man and drags him, kicking and screaming, out of the room. Conversations start all around you, some whispered, some quite overt. Sophie looks somewhat bored of the whole affair, her eyes wandering from art piece to art piece, clearly finding nothing to her particular liking. Let's see. Yeah, what happens now? So, what happens now? It'll be at least some minutes before Kadir gets the information he seeks out of this thug. Why not mingle while we wait for him to break? Okay. Excuse me. Sophie leaves your side and goes to a corner of the gallery where a group of kindred, some seemingly pretty old-fashioned, gathered. A concierge offers you a drink. Still warm. It smells nice. Just a sip to start you off. A splash over your palate, coating your tongue and the inside of your cheeks. Nourishment. You're left to your own devices. You have a quick look around. The prince is currently talking to a dark-skinned woman that you recall seeing here a few nights ago. She has a cold but noble countenance to her. Their conversation seems to be casual. A loud, shrill laugh turns your attention to the bespectacled man who you saw with Sophie on the night of your judgment. He's making the rounds, chatting up different patrons. You feel somebody's eyes on you. A casually dressed, plain-looking man stands alone near a column, watching you. He turns his gaze away sheepishly when he realizes you've noticed. Okay, try to talk to the prince, chat up the man with the glasses, or confront the man looking at you. Well, I guess we'll find out what happens next time on Scribe Plays Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. I always love a cliffhanger. Thank you for watching. If you appreciate this kind of content, please let me know in the comments, and do like the video if you like it. And I'm still figuring out my video game outro, so I already thanked you for watching, but I'll say it again. As always, thank you for watching.